Hey, this is Peter from Piston Ported and Scooterville, and this is Nathan from Scooterville.
Yep.
And we're gonna do a video about our new sidecar for Royal Alloy GT150s. And this is gonna be a series of videos that we're going to delve in deeper into each section, but this is just a topical video, just us talking about, how we came up with the idea, I guess, and how we designed it and how we got it produced, things like that. So what we're going to start out with is just talking about a little bit about the idea, which with the idea being that we wanted to put a sidecar on a modern scooter, and we decided to do a Royal Alloy. And the reason that we chose the Royal Alloy for this is pretty much because they're way overbuilt.
Yeah.
Big
suspension.
Yeah, big suspension, big frame, big brakes. I mean, kind of everything.
Yeah, it's really rugged base to start with.
Yeah, they're way overbuilt, and it's because they use the same chassis as the 300. So with the 150, you get the same chassis. It just doesn't have the radiator, which is exactly where we ended up putting the mount.
Yeah.
So that's why we chose the Royal Alloy. Plus the metal body obviously lends to it, and the shape and everything like that.
Vintage styling.
Yeah, vintage styling.
With the vintage sidecars.
Yep.
We're trying to supersede here.
Yep. Totally. And then as far as the parameters were concerned, which is what we're going to be delving into in the later videos, we basically set out we didn't want to have any drilling or modifying of the scooter. That was an important one. When we put the frame on it, we didn't want to have to drill any holes. We didn't want to have to do a whole lot of setup. It needed to be really easy to install. All the dimensions and everything like that needed to basically just drop in. And then the only other things that you really have to adjust when you install it is for the weight of the rider.
Yeah. The way sidecars used to be, the cozy sidecars on Stellas and P200s, would be just bolting through the floorboard.
Yep.
Of basically of pressed metal, which has a ton of flex in it, and that flex in both the frame of the tug and the primitive way the sidecar is mounted to it lends to really poor handling. And the way that we designed this mount to press into the frame of the Royal Alloy, which is a rigid, tubular, square and tubular style traditional frame of a modern bike. It's basically an extension of the sidecar frame.
Correct. Yeah.
So marrying those together adds, on its own, without any concern of the geometrics or physics of how a sidecar drives, already improves the stability, handling.
100%.
Tenfold.
100%. I think, as far as the, design parameters were concerned, one of the key parameters for us is it had to handle and work better than a Stella or a PX with a sidecar on it. Which honestly, I mean, that's not terribly hard, but we wanted to absolutely, knock it out of the park to the point where if you own or have driven a scooter with a sidecar prior to driving one of these, when you drive this sidecar that we designed, you probably would never want to drive the other sidecar ever again.
That reminds me of the first time I rode a sidecar. Like my first or second week of working here. They were like, "Oh, you ever driven a sidecar?" I was like, "No." Like, go take this one around the block. And then I go around our little block here at Scooterville, our little test ride track, and it's doing this. So I thought that they were playing a prank on me and the bike was here because it didn't have any shocks in it, or front was broken or folded in half. But I learned that that's just the way
that sidecars handle.
The way it was.
You know, and people love to buy sidecars. They love to own sidecars. They love for their dogs love sidecars. Their kids love sidecars. Their grandkids love sidecars.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that don't like sidecars are the people that drive them, typically, and at least scooter sidecars, I should say.
Yeah.
And we sought to eliminate that. We wanted to make a sidecar that didn't suck to handle for handling, and it was actually fun to drive, and we really did achieve it. This thing is an absolute pleasure to spin. It's really is comfortable.
Yeah.
And then as far as part of that was we wanted to use modern sidecar geometry when we designed it, and I used to work for Royal Enfield, and we did a lot of sidecar business there. And part of that was using modern sidecar geometry. So what we did was we took a Stella with a sidecar, we measured the geometry of that, and then we applied that geometry to what is considered good sidecar geometry, and we found out that it was terribly off. If you remember, it was so off. Significantly off. So what we set out to do when we did this is we used that geometry of a good handling, what's considered to be a good handling sidecar, and we applied it to our design. And we succeeded in achieving that. So it does handle significantly better.
Yeah. And we'll get into that more in other videos.
Yeah, in other videos, 100%.
The basics of that, I would say, would be on motorcycle sidecars. Since you are able to attach directly to an exposed frame, there's a significant amount of adjustment you get in multiple points of contact. And so that infinite adjustability is what makes motorcycle sidecars generally easier to drive, or at least easier to set up, across the board. And that's what scooter sidecars have always lacked, in the way that you bolt up a receiver, basically a receiver hitch, and you plug your sidecar into it, and that's what you get.
That's what you get. There's not a lot of adjustment. So if you don't set it up right, if you don't jig it right in the first place when you make the design, there's nothing you can do about it afterwards. You can't. It's not something you can correct. So it's all built into the actual mount. And then one of the other key aspects of all this, I guess, for us, was that it was important for us that the sidecar frame be manufactured locally here in Minnesota by local fabricators. We get them made right here, obviously in the USA, because that's where Minnesota is. And so we have, they get made locally. Nathan here was our chief prototyper, so he did all the fabrication on the prototype, and then we worked with a local fabricator to create jigs to actually produce the sidecar mounts repeatably and accurately. So we, once we got partnered with him, he made us our mounts. And then from there, we went to this place called Adrenaline Customs, who used to do all the powder coating for like Kiriakin and stuff like that. And they're in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And we worked with them to do the powder coating on it. And so now we have a mount that is 100% made in the USA. So, and strong, by the way. That was the other. We wanted it to be exceptionally strong. Like if you drove this thing off a cliff and it smashed into a bunch of rocks, the only thing that would survive would be our sidecar mount. And I believe that. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but this thing is so incredibly strong. So yeah, I kind of feel like, was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or?
No, just we're real proud of it.
Yeah, we're really proud of it, obviously.
And yeah, we'll be talking more about it.
Yeah, and in future videos, we'll talk more about, each aspect of this, and I guess, try to explain a little bit or document the process to from idea to inception. So thanks a lot for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want one of these bad boys, contact Scooterville here in Minnesota. Our phone number is 612-331-7266. Ask for Chris or Bob, and they can get you set up with one of these sweet babes. Color match just for you.